at first I don't know why he wants the job, but it's also hinders us. We can't get anything done. We can't communicate with the people that aren't here.
Now, how do you enforce that? Because then you run into, the state mandated. I mean, you can't just say, it's not like a private plane where you say, you're not, the attendance is down 1.5. So if we have a problem with somebody not making meetings, and they pass that cutoff, then what?
Well, this would be a policy, standard that you impose on
You have to
yourself.
vote on it, and then if we voted.
Well,
to-
I'm not sure, I
supersede
don't remember
it.
the law on it, maybe you could elucidate, but I.
Yeah, so the law, the only thing the law says is that, there's two parts of the law. So one says that if, a trustee is not present for his or her second meeting in a row, the board can get the police to go
Police,
get the person.
handcuffs.
You have to find
And,
Get out of the village for months at a time.
and the second thing is that, under the, I think it's a public.
Is that the current code now?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
current. Under the law, there's, a trustee can be removed for any one of the, what are called the 4 Ms. And it's like maladministration, malfeasance, things like that. So probably missing a number of meetings that this board has set as a standard for itself would be considered, maladministration or one of the 4 Ms. So, but that requires a court action, so you actually have to go to court to have the trustee removed.
Even in this law though, where we're saying that we would have a board of ethics? When we get to
Yeah,
that.
so the board of ethics would find that the person's not meeting their standard,
I'm sure they have their right to appeal, and then that would take the court,
if that's what they wanted to do.
right?
So,
I mean, I think it's good to put it in here as a matter of policy. On an individual basis, we would decide whether we want to go down that road.
Yeah, normally you would censor them or give them warnings or things like censure or give them warnings, things like that.
Okay. That's all I have. Does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
1520,
same one?
A.
Oh, the numbering got messed up. It goes 1520 and then it goes back to 19. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
apologize.
yeah.
So it's 1521 and then 1522.
Yeah. So, it says,
standard of conduct?
maintain a status of violation of law or code for a period of time without resolution. So, I've never seen anything in a code where it didn't quantify.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even in this, it says, sometimes it's for 6 weeks or 2 weeks, or different things where you quantify it. To have something in a code that says for a period of time is not adequate. So we would have to.
Yeah, but that leaves us, I think it's the same with the percentage. I think that leaves us in charge of what that is. I think we determine, that gives us flexibility one way or the other.
It gets political and it gets off the keys. We should be able to say that if somebody has an outstanding violation of the village for a couple of years or something like that, then it's a disqualifying factor.
Well, I think that's
Something where we say,
current now.
I mean,
Yeah, well, that would be one of the forums that it's open.
right, so we should say something that where it's at least a benchmark. So that it's not subjective, it's not what on is being political, it's.
Doesn't it
This
say
is
that
what-
we'll try to take care of it? What is it?
Without resolution by the official.
Oh, so we should say that they should make a good faith effort to
Yeah, I think that'd be
remove.
Something,
Yeah,
something where we,
remove the
it's just so,
violation.
this is just too vague.
Yeah,
So the resolution doesn't really work, because that's so long.
okay. Okay, I'll make some changes in this.
Well, I'm sure we'll have other changes from the public hearing, but start. Anything else, John?
No, other than we need to, along with this, put together a board of ethics.
Right. And that'll be something we'll have to decide if it's gonna be, how many people, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In the interim, Suffolk County would be our default on that,
Yes.
correct?
And that might be a better option. Maybe, we decide that.
It's hard enough getting people to volunteer for things, so.
Mhm.
But we like that suggestion the last time, so maybe we can say right now, that'll be our board of ethics, and then we can get these corrections and get this thing going. Right? I don't know if you want voting on it. Business.
Oh, no, we're gonna take, well, we'll have public input on it, and then we'll get another draft of that,
Okay.
so.
But in the draft, you want to just say, Board of Ethics will not be the middle of us.
Be subject now. I think that that's the best way to go, but I leave that to what everyone else decides.
And then the enforcement is that's pretty straight. Any municipal officer or employee that violates 1521, that's the last page. Who violates this code may be censured, fined, suspended, removed from office or employment in the manner provided by laws. That manner provided by laws, that's
That's what I just.
That's what you're just talking
So
about?
basically, you have to take a person to court
right.
and have a judge remove them. Fine should probably be taken out of this. I don't know if there's any way to find.
No.
Mm. Any other comments on this? Next one is zoning 183. Zoning.
So for definition, shed, 144, is that a new number?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That was actually one of the things that caused this whole project to get started.
Okay,
Because it's still in our codes,
right.
you know.
that's, you don't need, if it's under 144, you don't need
The dwelling one family
it. What page
and
are you on?
family, I'm sorry, page 6.
Page 6.
Which was made for what?
I'm sorry,
The dwelling family. which one?
page 6. It's, I'm sorry, it's just in definitions. So in there, it said a detached building designed for and occupied exclusively by one family unit. And then the definition of family is after that? Is that what a family unit is? Is family unit in that spot? One more person by
Yeah,
one
it should really say, yeah, because it doesn't say family unit, it just says family.
Right,
So unit could be.
right, in the definition where it says
Yeah.
unit, yeah. No more private garage, that was taken out, is that, what is it, garage
It's
detached?
redundant.
It was redundant,
Yeah.
Well, it now says garage detached, that's okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Is that okay? No, that's,
Leave it in.
okay, good, good.
We added structure, that was new, Jeff?
Well, structure was always in there, but it was
Yeah.
a convoluted thing. The definition is new.
Okay. So on page 13, where it's Article 4 regulations, page 13, it says C, permitted accessory uses. You have number 2, private swimming pool, tennis court, or, but nothing's listed there. I didn't know if we meant to put dock there. It's just an or with nothing
What
after
page is
it. 13.
Well, I have to go back.
C2.
I- That could have been
It's just
an
an
omission.
swimming pool, tennis court, or.
Just fill in the blank?
Yeah, it's nothing, it doesn't, yeah, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, but I don't
doesn't
know.
connect.
So I have to, you know what it is?
Okay.
You have really access to the codes in your phone, don't you?
Not.
No, that don't.
Could be sports court.
That was not changed from what's in the code right now.
Okay.
So
So
you
you
just
can
have to,
actually put
just have to see whether that's an omission or there was something that followed.
We
A
have,
deletion, I should say.
I guess, the private stable was taken out, so private stables are not allowed in the village, is that what we're saying?
Well, we talked about it publicly, that was one of the ones. Actually, I thought we also took out churches. Up the top.
No, that's one, yeah.
One, and because it requires 5 acres, which doesn't exist. And, but everybody said, no, it does. What's that? Maybe that would, I don't remember.
Somebody says 9 acres.
Oh, yeah? Okay, maybe that's why we left it. I remember the conversation, but I don't remember how we, okay,
Could be a church.
okay. But most of these are what's existing, so.
Right. Just a typo on page 16. E, which is supposed to be CA instead of C4.
Oh. 16. It says C4, and, oh, it should be
CA.
C4.
C4, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Shepherd exchange for 10. And then just in the penalty section, I just wanted it clarified about, on page 23. We're authorized by a duly adopted, village attorney may bring and maintain a civil proceeding in the name of the village in the Supreme Court. Can you clarify that for me? Like what is that?
Right, so this is the law anyway.
Where are you looking?
I'm sorry, page 23?
Which one?
F.
Okay.
If somebody has a situation where there's an ongoing violation that they're refusing to fix, or there's an unsafe situation.
And would that have already come through our Poquott Village Court prior to these actions? Would that be something that would have gone through Village Court before?
As long as it's
the
not an
Supreme Court?
emergency.
Okay.
If it's an emergency,
No.
maybe or maybe not, but,
What constitutes an emergency?
some life safety
And
hazards.
safe house.
Excuse me, so they would have to, it would go through the court. Yes.
Through the Village Court?
Yes.
Okay. And only in the case of some kind of emergency would you be able to have the power of this search warrant?
Okay, so I
For
wanted
G.
to, this is another thing, it's sort of the same thing, so, a search warrant is, this actually makes it a little harder to get a search warrant because I need the authorization of the Board of Trustees. So, I'm not sure that I could get it if this wasn't in here. On my own, I'm not 100% sure of that, but this actually requires an approval of the Board of Trustees. So you would be basically the ones deciding, whether or not to go to that step.
I didn't
And then
change
I
this,
just-
did you change this to this?
The penalties, I changed to make them the standard.
But the wording in this particular section is what it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was always this way.
I'm not sure if it was, I don't recall exactly if I want to say that I didn't change I didn't change anything, but I just want to say that the thing about a search warrant is, number one, with this, it actually adds a step, because it wouldn't be me acting, it would be the board making a decision. And there'd be public, it would have to be at a public meeting and everything. And then the second thing is that when you get a search warrant, the way that it works is you go to court and you make an application, and the judge listens to the application. The judge doesn't always grant the search warrant. It has to be justified.
Do we need that? I mean, I'm trying to think of a situation where we would go to that point.
There are situations where you will need it.
A non-police matter? We're not talking about it?
Yes, a zoning matter, but the question is whether we could get it without this language in there. So I could probably have you do this without this language in here. Have a vote and direct me or authorize me to go get a search warrant without this language. So, but the only thing this language clarifies is that I can only do it with your vote.
Well, just to be consistent, when we talked about, I think it was unsafe, yes, it was the unsafe building. The reason I rewrote that was because the procedure in the existing code was that the board had to be brought in way too early before it was a legal matter. And so it was embarrassing for somebody to have to be brought up at this meeting because it became a legal matter. We need to be involved with the board. If the village is going to be involved in litigation, then clearly the board should vote on that. But for something like this, I'm trying to think of what kind of litigation would require that we get involved.
Well, say, somebody had a, 2 or 3 apartments in their basement, and we could tell from the outside of the house without going in, we could tell from the outside that the only escape from those basements, if there was a fire, was small basement windows, this kind of thing, right? And which is not legal. But the person wouldn't let us in the house, so, the building inspector has the right to go into a house and do an inspection. If the person doesn't let them in, particularly if there's there's a life safety hazard, often you could apply for a search warrant and get a search warrant to go in and do an inspection. I've done this several times.
Really? Oh, well.
It's not a really great thing to do, but I mean, sometimes if you believe that there's a life safety hazard in the house and that there's people in there, you really don't have a choice. It's not to go in and see, did they build a bathroom, that kind of thing. It's to see, really unsafe conditions. Should there be a fire or something and people not be able to get out? That's the concern.
Well, that makes sense, but it seems to me then that we should add that wording, that is a matter of
Personal
dangerous,
life threatening.
dangerous or
Personal safety.
personal safety or
Life
something like
threatening.
that, where we stipulate the conditions. It just seems to, I'm personally uncomfortable wading into that kind of.
Yeah, well, then another suggestion might be
Can't believe it.
to take it out. I mean, because then you may not want to restrict it, because it could be a situation where it's not a life safety hazard, but you need to go in and do, an inspection. That's the only way that the person's gonna let you do it. But, it's.
But if we, so if we didn't have, we would have that ability. If we
Well,
took this out,
if you took it out, you would have that ability.
So let's take it out.
Would there be any drawback from somebody with, let's say, you're impeding on their Fourth Amendment right to privacy? Even though you're saying it's a safety issue, can someone come back with litigation against the village?
Not if the judge signs it, so that's why the judge is involved. So all of this, it's not the village making the decision. The village would just allow me to go see a judge, basically, and see what the judge, leave it up to the judge. If the judge issues the search warrant, then there's not a,
Drawback.
That's it.
Well, in a real
there's not a
situation,
constitutional
Joe,
issue.
would you feel that you would probably want the board to discuss this, even in executive session, before you acted on something like that?
Yes.
So then, if that's the case, if we were ever in a situation where we were at that level with the house, we would probably want to be involved, right?
We have to.
But now, but then could we, since it's a legal matter, for privacy reasons, could we go into executive session for something like that?
Yes, because it's illegal. It's discussed
So,
pending or.
It sounds like you're saying that we probably should leave this in, because that would be what would actually happen. We would be involved, we would hear what you had to say, and I mean, I think your point is well taken about it, talking about something like that in public. And yet we had a meeting. where we-
Yeah, this is a little garbled anyway, so I think what I'm gonna do is reword this
Okay.
and make it a little, maybe a higher standard, and then we'll take care of that. So let me just tell you a couple more recent search warrants that come to mind that I just want to mention to those kinds of situations. There's one where somebody took the second floor of a commercial building, small commercial building, and broke it up into like 10 apartments with plywood basically, and that it definitely was a life safety hazard. They wouldn't let us in, and it was a search warrant. Another one was a hoarder basically, where the house was just not safe to be in for anybody to be in, but the person was still residing in the house, and we had to do an inspection basically to find the situation to determine exactly what it was. So those are the kinds of things that it comes up and where it's definitely a life safety hazard. It's not just to get inside the house.
And just one other thing, I have to backtrack to page 13. Permitted special uses, we removed farms from that, is that correct?
We did,
Just
in
a-
the conversation, I think they were like,
Page 13.
C2 is done. Where it says swimming pool, tennis court, or dock.
It's dock there,
Yeah.
okay, so that is dock confirmed there.
We're
But-
done.
Right.
Mhm.
So I guess it used to be farms under there, but we still have a definition for farms in the definitions area. see it says garden excessive, residential use should not be deemed as a farm, but
Well,
the definition's there, but it's not something that is a permitted special use, so I don't know.
well, the definition of farm is to differentiate it from people who grow vegetables.
Yeah.
So I would think you'd still want it in there.
Okay.
A farm is a whole other thing, you know.
Yeah, just noticed in there, not there.
Anyone?
That's it for me.
Okay, I didn't, you wrote it. Okay. Let's see the public comments. You have anything to report?
Excuse me. Still thinking about search warrants. We have a couple things going on. So the first is that we still have the case with Ashley Holmes pending. Ashley Holmes has now sued the county, trying to reinstate the contract that the county canceled. I'm asking permission from the board for the village to try to join that application so we can make sure that try to make sure that the contract is not reinstated by the county. If we could have that in as a resolution tonight. With the open lawsuits, the case involving Aptiv, we still have the motion to dismiss that's pending. And there hasn't been a decision. The judge that has the case, Judge Bianco, was just confirmed to move up to the next higher court. He was appointed by President Trump to go up to the federal version of the Court of Appeals in the city. And if he doesn't decide the case before he goes, which is pretty much now, then it's going to be a little while because the case has to get reassigned. And another judge is going to have to look at the motions.
They were in the village last time.
Yeah. So I'll work on any of that one.
Okay.
They are, as far as I know, they are licensed in Suffolk County now. Whereas,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, anything else?
I don't know.
No else? Have a motion to adjourn the working meeting?
Second,
Um,
let's take a break. We'll do that.
yeah, I just wanted to know.